See me?
Audio is good. Let's fire away, Lily.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you everyone and welcome to Startup Summer. We have some amazing pitches for you tonight from students who are from all over the country because we kind of took advantage of this whole virtual environment. And so students really have joined us from all over the country. Over the last 10 weeks, students have participated in around 11 seminars from local entrepreneurial leaders who you probably saw when you came in on the screen. Without these leaders, this program really wouldn't be possible. So a huge, huge thank you to them. They're a great example of this amazing entrepreneurial community we have in Colorado, and they really take the time to invest and help grow that community. So these students about 6 weeks ago formed groups, and during their nights and weekends outside of their internships, which is pretty much the entrepreneurial way, they have come up with these businesses and companies that you're going to see pitched tonight. And this program's been really amazing for our students. I'm just going to share a quick quote with you guys. So this is from one of our students, and he says, "I've grown immensely throughout this summer program. I didn't have much experience in building startups and pitching before, but now I feel more confident than ever. From day one, we were diving into ideation sessions, learning from some of the area's most exciting entrepreneurs and team building. As a business student, the networking component was a huge plus. Such a productive summer. Thank you to everyone at Silicon Flatirons." So as you can see, this program really does have a huge impact on the students. And so we're really thankful for everyone's support and very excited to see what the students bring tonight. Just a quick run through of the schedule. So we're going to do the first 3 teams. We're going to have a break. The next 3 teams, we're going to have 15 minutes. The judges are going to deliberate. You're going to get the opportunity to know the students and these future entrepreneurs a little bit better, or current entrepreneurs actually. And then we're going to do awards and thank yous. And kind of on the note of thank you, a huge thank you to Nate and Eileen from the Silicon Flatirons. They are always around and helping us make this work, and this program and this night would not be possible without them, as well as a huge, huge, huge thank you to Sarah Schnittgrund. Many of you interacted with Sarah if you've worked with any of our students, or if you are a student, you know she's a huge support and resource and an incredible asset to the CU entrepreneurial community. And so on that note, I am going to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Lily. And I just want to say a huge thank you to you, Lily, that you stepped up as the managing director this year. And the program, we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you so much. I don't know if you all were able to see that slide. Eileen, I don't know if you could put that slide up of all the companies that supported us this summer. But I've been really grateful this year from the entrepreneurial community that has come together to really support our students. All of these companies reviewed resumes, conducted interviews, some hired our students, and it's just been an amazing support. And also a huge thank you to you students. The students who participated this year were engaged and they were hardworking, and what they've been able to pull together in 6 to 7 weeks has been amazing. So, pat on the back to all of you students. You should be really proud of yourselves because I'm super proud of you. So I will turn it over to Brad.
Thank you, Sarah. I just dropped into the chat. Welcome everybody to Silicon Flatirons Startup Summer Finale. This is our pitch night. It's becoming a rite of summer. We can't end the summer without Startup Summer Pitch Night. And I'd love to know who is in the Zoomiverse here tonight. Please drop in who you are and what your connection is to Startup Summer, why you're tuning in as we're getting going here. A big thanks to our sponsors. If Eileen, you could put up our sponsor list, that would be most welcome. We've got 3 primary sponsors for Startup Summer. The first is the Caruso Foundation. Big thanks to Dan and Cindy Caruso for making this program possible. Second is the Anchor Point Foundation. Big thanks to Brad Feld and Amy Batchelor and the Caruso Foundation and Anchor Point have been behind Startup Summer really pretty much all the way through in one form or another. And this year we have a new sponsor, which actually is a company that came through Startup Summer, or at least the founders did. Fletcher Richmond and Help are sponsoring Startup Summer. And Fletcher and his co-founder, Kamran, met through this program. Danielle Dannenberg, who is part of the company, actually ran the program one year. And it's just a fabulous story to have them coming back and sponsoring. So you get a chance in the community, please tell Dan and Cindy Caruso, thank you. Brad Feld, Amy Batchelor, thank you. And really special to have Fletcher Richmond and the Help team coming back and getting behind the program. Thank you, by the way, Eileen, for hooking this up. What are we doing with Startup Summer as we get going? 3 purposes of Startup Summer. The first is to educate the participants with respect to entrepreneurial methodologies. Some of this year's participants come in more up to speed than others, but everybody has a chance to go deep on entrepreneurial methodologies. Education is the first purpose of Startup Summer. Second is to tie these participants more into the front range scene of entrepreneurship. So the students, you may not have known that this is a bit of a bait and switch, but Startup Summer is a magnet. You guys are the next generation of talent in Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins. We are trying to get you looped into this scene so that when you graduate, when you're ready to start a company, when you're ready to go work for companies, that you're going to do it in the front range. And third, we hope to use Startup Summer as a way to increase connectivity between the front range scene, CEOs, other C-level executives, people who work at companies and emerging companies, the front range, and see you in Silicon Flatirons. So that's what we do through this. And this is the 10th year of Startup Summer. And I just want to emphasize the participants in this program, they're mutants. They're working all day in their internships, and they do this during their nights and weekends. It is an awesome program of self-selected individuals, highly motivated. And the companies you're going to see tonight are about 7 weeks old or less. These are fresh ideas. They made a ton of progress, and that's a lot of fun. Here's what we're going to do tonight. First, the companies are going to pitch about 5 minutes. They have their choice as to whether to pitch live or whether to show a video, and you're going to see a mix of that. After the company pitch, 5 minutes of Q&A. I'm going to introduce our judges here momentarily. And following the Q&A, we're going to have about 3 minutes of judge feedback to the companies. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be broken. We're doing this in the Zoomiverse, hopefully about ready to get out of the Zoomiverse. But if we've got technology issues, we will take a second, breathe, and try to make it work. Finally, we've got some money awards. This is so much fun. Nobody's coming out of here empty-handed. Our 5th and 6th place teams are going to take home $500 each. 4th place team gets $1,000. 3rd place, $2,000. 2nd place, $3,000. I sound like a gambler here, which I am, although I don't gamble $1,000. And 1st place tonight gets $5,000. We also have a perfect attendance award and a financial incentive for that we'll talk about a little bit later. So with that, we are ready to rock. Let me introduce tonight's judges. And as I introduce you, I'm going to ask you to turn on your video and your audio. Tonight's first guest judge is someone who is a CU star in our MBA program. She is double CU. She did applied math as an undergrad, did her MBA here where she kind of destroyed my venture capital class. She took that forward to starting her career in the emerging company community at Flight Desk, then was at Techstars, and now is a senior associate where she is a venture capitalist with Next Frontier Capital. Please help me welcome Kirsten Soudeth. Kirsten, please come on board. Awesome to have you here, Kirsten. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well. Hi from Bozeman, spending the year up here in Montana.
God, summer in Montana sounds great. 1 to 10, how is it?
You know, minus the smoke, it's a 10.
Yeah.
We can't have it all, though. Thanks for having me tonight.
This will be fun. Thanks for joining us. Second panelist on our judicial panel, also a CU alumna. She was the kind of student that I like to say we should have flunked because she just kept doing things that were so valuable, not only within the law school, but across campus. She helped with the New Venture Challenge. She was part of the Entrepreneurial Law Clinic, was involved really across the board when she was at CU. She moved on to Techstars, where she works today as corporate counsel. It's happy to have her as a guest lecturer in our venture capital class. Please help me welcome back Sierra Moeller. Sierra, welcome back.
Brad, nice to see you all in the Zoomiverse. Looking forward to tonight. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being part of it. Where are you zooming in from, Sierra?
Managed to get home just after work though, so calling in from Broomfield, Colorado.
All the way from Broomfield.
I know.
And our third expert panelist is the pride of Colgate and the Michigan MBA program. He started a company that originally was going to do educational video, pivoted into videos with an emphasis on crafts, called Craftsy, had a very happy exit with that company to NBC Universal, and was a board member, I think still is, and took over as CEO at the Pros Closet. Additionally, is a band member and a proud rock and roller. Please help me welcome John Levesey. John.
Thank you, Brad. Great to be here.
Are you going to be pumping your band? What's the name of the band?
We're defunct. We're too old, Brad. It's over.
Actually, defunct is a pretty good name for a funk band. I like it. All right. So these are our three judges. With that, you guys ready to roll? All right, here we go. The first team tonight is Matthew Hannum, Zach DuPont, Sydney Kaspersky, and Grace Neighbor. They are the green team. Matt, are you ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're going to be screen sharing. I'll give you a second to get that fired up. Judges, can you all give me a thumbs up that you can see Matt's screen? All right.
We could unmute me, Sydney, Grace. If me, Sydney, and Grace could get our videos, because we're all presenting on this pitch, actually, not just Matt.
That sounds great. I think you guys are all up right now, so you should be good and ready to go. And in terms of keeping the time tonight, Lily Wasser, who's our managing director, is going to be gently reminding people to stay on time. Green team, when you're ready, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Hannum. Tonight we'll be presenting to you Beneath the Balance Sheet, your one-stop shop for comprehensive ESG consulting, reporting, and training. So what is ESG? Environmental, social, and governance. It is essential to remember that each of these supports the other pieces as a whole. Without that good company culture, the S and the G, the E will not thrive. Companies who wish to be responsible in their practices that contribute to our communities and environment will need to ensure this type of tandem thinking moving forward, which leads us to the problem. Climate change is arguably the most pressing issue facing our species today. Unfortunately, business practices are continually adding to this issue. Now, there is a need to show your customers you care about climate change and are serious about ESG, and business owners need to do something about it, which brings us to the opportunity. 87% of Americans will make a purchase because a company advocated for an issue they care about, and 73% said that they would stop purchasing from a company that doesn't show an initiative about tackling climate change. ESG, it is no longer a public relations exercise, and the risks related to reporting on non-financial matters are evolving. Stakeholders and consumers have a growing appetite for companies to report on ESG. Therefore, companies should consider engaging proactively and appropriately with stakeholders in order to manage expectations on these ESG matters. The UK and Canada are already requiring ESG regulations and reporting. Therefore, we feel that in the next 5 years, there will be the same type of requirements here in the US. And so now we can see the solution. We are Beneath the Balance Sheet, and our easy-to-use online software allows our customers to manage ESG expectations and bolster their stakeholder reputation through positive initiatives. By being there for our customers with every step, we firmly believe that we can solve business-related harm to the environment today and for future generations. Now I'd like to pass it to our COO, Grace, for our demo.
Thank you, Matt. So for our demo, we have our website interface, which is our main platform, and we have employee login capabilities. So everyone in the company can be on board and see current ESG goals and progress. Now I'm going to take you through our business model. My team drafted up a lean stack, but here are some of the highlights I'd like to share with you. So how we make our money. Our consulting service comes with an initial 7-day trial, and then it's $1,500 for installation and $175 a month in member fees. We also offer additional ESG certificate programs to companies that are $200 per class, which help expand knowledge about becoming sustainable leaders. How we will grow our customer base. As Matt mentioned, we will begin with small to medium-sized businesses in Colorado and California. We will grow our customer base through events and partnerships with local environmental and social advocacy groups, which will help us spread the word of mouth about our consulting firm and bolster reputation through recommendations. Our business is centered around top-notch service and providing a simple and easy-to-use plan for our clients. We're going to be approaching food and beverage, smaller transportation companies with an emphasis on electric and retail. Now I'm going to be passing it off to Zach for our financial projections.
Thank you, Grace. So here you can see our fiscal projections for years 1 through 6. We list our expenses, revenue, net profit, profit margin, and retained earnings. Beginning in year 2, you can see a significant jump in our profit margins. This is due to the nature of our service requiring little to no additional cost for adding additional customers. Next, our competitive analysis. Currently, there are no US-based firms that offer ESG consulting to small to medium-sized companies. We would also be a true one-stop shop for all of your ESG needs, individually tailored to your specific company. We would offer utility bill management, consulting, and reporting. And finally, as Grace said, we would offer individual tailored classes for certifications, certifying your employees with titles such as Sustainable Manager. Now passing it off to our CMO, Sydney, for market size.
Thank you, Zach. So we are focusing on small to medium companies in Colorado and California with plans to expand. There are currently 3.6 million small companies in Colorado and California. 60% are in need of an ESG plan, making it a market size of 2.2 million. As young professionals, we all envision ESG as part of our career and have a great passion for this field. Our CEO, Matt, is pursuing his MBA in sustainability at CU Boulder and works on the sustainability team at Zayo Group. In addition to Matt, the rest of us have a lifelong passion for business and sustainability. I would like to introduce our VP, Zach. I am the CMO, and our COO, Grace. Now back to our CEO, Matt, to finish.
Thank you, Sydney. We gauged the interest of several companies within different industries and are happy to report that we got some really positive feedback around our idea. Most of these were based in Colorado, and almost all said that they would pay prices similar to our initial base pricing points. And to conclude, I'd like to leave you with a question, which is, if you're not in business to help people on the planet, then what is your purpose and why are you in business? Thank you, and we'd like to open up for any questions.
Great work, guys. Kirsten, you have the privilege of the first question. Fire away.
All right. So just, a quick question around, I guess maybe just walk me through how you expect to engage your customers. So from the moment where your customer says, yes, I want to work with Beneath the Balance Sheet, through to, they're up and running on your platform. What does that look like?
So the first thing that we would like to do is calculate their carbon footprint, which depending on company size, it can be a lot more extensive than one would think. So gathering all of their energy usages throughout the past 2 years, calculating their carbon footprint and getting them that baseline, and then moving forward, setting them with a path to net zero. And through our subscription services with those classes, we can offer them to become certified in certain sustainability areas. So the first step would really just to be calculating that carbon footprint, which we use utility bill management to do that.
John, what do you want to know?
I think a lot of companies sign up for services like this for various reasons. Sometimes it's PR, sometimes it's legitimately to do the right thing. How do you want to appeal to both? Like, is there a seal of approval or something that companies can use in their advertising or next to their logo to show that they are conscious of the elements you bring up?
I can take this one, Matt. Yeah, we would give some sort of seal of approval that they could list on their website, and that we would list on our own website. Part of why they'd want to do this is because, as we listed in our slides, consumers are more and more likely to care about companies that do show that they are invested in sustainability. So it would be beneficial for them and their bottom line to show consumers that they also care about these issues.
Great, thank you.
Sarah.
Thanks, Brad. I I'm curious a little bit about sort of what progress you've been able to sort of make this summer in terms of research, like why ESG, what sort of stuff did you look into in terms of the types of certifications that are out there? You mentioned that it's really only, you're focused on sort of small to medium sized businesses, like why them?
We feel that being able to offer this service to small to medium businesses is beneficial because of the fact that it might not be something that's first on their radar. So with being able to offer it to them for a lower price, we can get them on board with moving forward with ESG. And we feel that ESG is the future of all businesses, as you'll notice, like with BlackRock and a lot of these bigger companies in different industries, they're all making this pledge and path forward to net zero. And so we'd like to help those small to medium-sized companies get on board as well that may not have the financial backing that these giants in the other fields would have. And like I said, yeah, we feel that ESG is truly the future of all businesses. So it's kind of like that early wake-up call to the future of ESG coming into the business, and helping the small to medium-based companies is key because they don't have that financial backing that a lot of the larger companies would, that are already pledging to do certain things around ESG.
Maybe just piggybacking off of that question a little bit, I'm curious, ESG is so broad. And, when I asked the question initially, sort of said, we're going to focus initially on, our carbon footprint. And then you said utility bills, so I'm assuming that's sort of scope 1. So like, what is, the actual carbon being consumed by that business? And then scope 2, which is how we power that business, right? I'm curious, what research have you done around frameworks that are already out there, like, B Corp or GRI? Will you plan to use those that already exist, or do you think there's opportunity to kind of rewrite the script and make your own?
Yeah, so especially with SASB and GRI, like you mentioned, we'd like to adhere to their current policies, and as well as the UN set some goals, the 17 sustainability goals. So yeah, we would definitely like to be in focus with those. And we feel that we can use those as a backing to push the company forward, but we also offer a unique tailored plan to each company, because we know not all businesses are in the same cycle, and a lot of them have been hurting over the past couple of years. So we'd like to be able to offer that unique custom tailored plan to each company.
So Matt, that's interesting. First of all, I really like the way that you and the team laid out the problem, the opportunity, and the solution, then the market size, and then your financials. So great job. There's so many folks never define the problem they're trying to solve, and I think congratulations on doing that. So I guess my question is, where you get in trouble sometimes in business is trying to customize it for everybody. And the way your financials look as you scale and get more profitable, dramatically more profitable, it's because you're reusing elements of the solution as a standard package, would be my guess. So how do you—
John, I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump in here. When you finish your question, I'm going to let Matt give you like a 1-sentence short answer, and then we have to keep moving forward.
Okay. Well, I'll finish that. I'm done. He can go ahead.
So to reiterate your question, it is, how are we going to be customizable while sticking to a more standard plan? Is that correct? Yeah. So I'd like to be in adherence with the UN 17 sustainability goals, SASB Sustainability Accounting Standard Board, and GRI. Those type of initiatives are really good for us to use in order to push these companies forward. However, I see the benefit in customizing the plan for each company because of the fact that all companies are different, and the industries and the nuances are going to be different per company. So while we're using that framework to set the companies forward to net zero, we have the knowledge that each company will have their own discrete little things that we need to take into account for. But yes, we would have that standard set from the organizations moving forward for sure.
Great.
All right, terrific to have you guys do this. The Beneath the Balance Sheet team Before we congratulate you, let's provide a little bit of feedback. Quick thoughts. Kirsten, what do you got for them?
Yeah, so I like the problem that you guys are, especially the focus on, SMB in this, in particular ESG segment. I wish you would focus it even more. So say we're going to start with this framework. We're going to work with these types of companies to solve, kind of that problem that John was getting at earlier, just as you get off the ground initially. And I would also encourage you, there's so much happening in this space, so many platforms being built. I would encourage you to look into them to see if you can integrate or work alongside them and use some of the things that are already there to help speed up your development process.
Thank you. And while looking into those sort of companies, we realized that a lot of them don't offer this UBM, utility bill management system, that Beneath the Balance Sheet would. They require you to do a lot of legwork up front, come to them with all your usage, and then they can go ahead. So with us, we're that one-stop shop where we do everything for you from the start, making it a lot easier because, like you said, it is so extensive.
Sierra, go ahead.
So I love a good story, and I totally agree with Kirsten, love the problem statement, but wanted to hear more about your customers. There was a traction slide included in the deck, would have really loved to have heard a little bit more about why it is that these particular customers not only need this service, but why they know they need this service, right? Which is also half the battle, I think, when it comes to ESG and small, medium businesses. You pointed that out of they have so many other things going on. Would have loved to have heard a little bit more about that story of what you actually heard from your customers as you were going out and doing these interviews, just so so you brought it a little bit more home to me, because I think that was the biggest part that was missing for me.
Great feedback. John, you get the final word.
Final word is I think you laid it out very logically. I think you're a victim of time constraints here to some degree. And I agree with Sierra that it would have been nice to hear a little more about the product market fit for the customers. Like, what are their pain points and how specifically you're going to solve those. But great job.
All right. Please give me a big rousing Zoom applause for Matthew, Zach, Sydney, and Grace. Congratulations, guys. That was great. Well done. All right. While we're in transition, Lily, any reflections about that team or anything that you want to add in terms of color based on the program?
I do want to give a huge shout out to Matt. Matt has really stepped up and helped a lot of our students develop their interviewing skills, which is a huge, huge asset and a really great example of how the entrepreneurial community gives back. He's only starting on this journey in Colorado, but he's really doing a great job of it.
Very cool. Thanks for adding that in. I'll note that among those who are joining tonight, I saw that Sandy, who is a former managing director, is back. It's awesome to see Ryan Close, an alum of the program. And we got a lot of moms on this Zoom call. And I guarantee this, every mom can agree on one thing. Their child is doing a heck of a job this summer. So that's fun. Welcome all the moms. Appreciate you guys all joining in. Let's introduce the second team tonight. Cooper Schaefer, Riley Beza, and Tom Koo. They are teaching every day. Cooper, Riley, Tom, who's going to take the lead here?
I believe Nate has our video.
Are you ready to roll, Cooper?
Yeah, we're ready to go. Video's
all right, Nate, roll it when you're ready.
Hello, and thank you for being here today. According to research by educationdata.org, on average in the United States, 40% of college students drop out every year. Out of those 40% who drop out, nearly half of them do so because of academic disqualification or academic and emotional stress. These statistics paint a painful reality of the situation in the United States, that we, as a top economic power, are failing our students, the future generations that will contribute to the advancement of society. Every college student who drops out is a missed opportunity for themselves individually and for our communities, economy, and future. According to a study by the American Institutes for Research, college dropouts cost themselves and the economy at least $4.5 billion in lost earnings and federal and state income tax revenue every year, not to mention the lost revenue for universities. And I can't even begin to fathom how much talent we have lost and are going to lose. We have talked to many professors about this dilemma. All of them would love to help the students, but they do not have the time to individually manage hundreds of students in their courses. They have a lot of responsibilities, so unfortunately, the failing students are sometimes left behind. However, we believe we are the team that can change that. Tom, our CTO, has years of education and experience in data analysis and teaching. Our CFO, Riley, has a background in economics and a drive to make a difference in secondary education. And myself, Cooper, the CEO, have hands-on involvement and training with startups. We, at Teaching Every Day, shortened to TED, will take the stress away from teachers and increase graduation rates across the country. With grade data, we will utilize algorithms to highlight units and concepts that a high percentage of students are not grasping. TED will provide regular analysis throughout the semester to the teachers, showcasing student performance and engagement, as well as lesson retention, so that the teachers are able to focus on what truly matters, the students. Then teachers can modify their lesson plans based on the data feedback. Additionally, we will be administering student attendance surveys weekly, allowing us to collect more intense data than simple grade reports. TED can compress all of the data into clear and concise information for teachers and administrators, thus making sure that every struggling student will be identified. That way, the school can be notified and the student can be helped before it is too late. Currently, with programs like Canvas, teachers can easily see whether the class as a whole is doing well, but it is incredibly time-consuming and difficult to review every student and discover if some students are trending towards failure. This is why TED will also allow looks into individual student statistics in addition to the broader trends. Certainly, we would expect students that are struggling to utilize free campus resources like tutoring and office hours. But sometimes what it really takes to get a student to take action is reaching out to them. Teaching Every Day aims to take the burden away from teachers and students in order to decrease the dropout rate and aid in the statistical and financial success of schools across the country. At Teaching Every Day, we will have extensive setup requirements and costs as we continue to develop automated algorithms that can interpret and analyze the grade data and behavioral survey data to create useful information. Once a school is set up with our program, very little interaction from TED will be required beyond possible technical support, thus making our operating costs much lower than setup. However, throughout the entire process, we will be paying for server space, and the more schools and students we provide the service for, the more that'll cost. That is why the cost for TED will be $10 per student per year, dropping 10% for every 10,000 students from a single university. Our selling process will follow the path of least resistance, selling to individual schools, for example, the engineering school, within private universities first. We estimate that within the first 2 years, we can secure contracts for 5% of the 5 million private university students, netting an approximate yearly revenue of $2.5 million. From that point, we will have the funds and structure to begin pushing into public universities as well. The prime selling point to universities of Teaching Every Day is simple. Less dropouts translates to more tuition and greater respect. TED will radically improve American secondary education by helping universities and students reach their full potential. Thank you again for listening to our presentation.
Thank you, Team TED. Sierra, let's have you lead off, and then John, and then Kirsten. Sierra, you get the first question.
Great. I'm curious about your marketing strategy and thinking about how you're going to position this product to universities against the larger competitive landscape.
So we think that our difference is going to be that most of the bigger landscape like Canvas or different LMS system, they offer different kind of statistics given to the professor. But the professors usually don't have the time to look through all the statistics because they are busy doing research and they have other commitment besides teaching. So our idea is that we do it in a much more individual way, where we look at what the department is doing. We look at the data. We do some data analysis, and we focus much more on serving the department where we say will push for increased retention rate in the classes. So that's always going to be our difference.
John?
Great job. I think it's a issue that needs to be addressed, particularly in cohorts of students where English is a second language, or they come from a background that may not have given them the wherewithal to succeed at the college level. So that's what resonated with me. The universities will be just fine if they lose a little revenue, one less building to go up. But as far as the lost potential and the debt incurred by students and the missed opportunity, that's what resonates with me. I think that's a hook that is maybe not when you're selling to the universities, but as a PR hook, I like it. I guess from an AI perspective, and it's a big one to throw around, but what are the three indicators that are harbingers of student failure that you see, and how do you capture that data without getting into privacy issues with universities who are notoriously squirrely about that?
So first, addressing the privacy issue, the best idea we think is that we just go into anomaly ourselves, basically. So like when a student goes into our system, it goes through like a blinding system where like student identity comes out one way and we just receive tokens. So we don't know what student we are looking at, and the only thing we know are the data points. So when we return the data back to the professors and school administration, they will get access to the identity, but we don't. And then regarding what is the data that's feeding into our algorithm, I think it also depends on different departments, but I think it constitutes on two main points. So basically, we have hard data where performance of the student is doing well, the student is going to the class. So these are hard evidence. And also we also collect what is called behavior data, which is increasingly important in education, where you collect stuff like how do you feel about the classes, how do you feel about the environment that you are in. There are a lot of factors that contribute to the student success, even the culture difference. So we will collect all the behavior data and combine with the performance, and we make decisions from there.
Kirsten.
Yeah, I had a very similar question. It was helpful to hear some of those data points, that you're going to be collecting and then using. My question is really then, okay, what happens next? So you collect this data, you've identified a student that's at risk for this. Obviously, some of what you learn can be used to solve this problem, but some of the problems that may exist might not be able to be solved by you. And so, just give me a sense of do you have a sense of the things that, could be contributing to this? What can you solve? Or, what can the teacher solve versus which problems are sort of beyond the scope of what you can do?
Tom, before you answer, I just want to let you know you have 30 seconds, and then we have to move on to the next part of this.
Okay, so the biggest factor that I think is going to be beyond our scope is going to be financial hardship. If a student is dropping out because they don't have money to pay for college, I think that's the best thing we can do is to point them to the counselor if we identify that, but other than that, we cannot do anything about it. We want to focus more on academic failure and maybe environmental stress or stress from other sources, and we want to identify that, and we point to different organizations like counselors, we point to the helping centers. Not just the teachers are going to solve this, of course, we are not going to be the solver. We're just going to work with different administration, and the idea is that they know what students they need to focus on.
All right, before we thank Team TED, I'll just add a little bit of color before we get feedback. The debt issues for students who drop out of college are massive. That is the group that's most at risk in terms of debt load having quality of life long-term effects. And so I think John alluded to that. You guys are onto a super important problem. And also, student retention is a real priority at the university level. It's something that affects parent decision-making. It's something that certain rankings take in effect. And so I think that what you guys are on to is a super powerful issue. Sierra, what do you got in terms of feedback?
So love the concept of sort of machine learning on concepts and giving that information directly to the professors. Boy, do I wish I had that in law school, as do many of my other students. That being said, I mean, I think what I would have loved to have heard a little bit more of is just, again, you really did focus on, I think, the technical aspects of what your product is doing, but it's such a human element. What you really were getting at is being able to better connect teachers and students to really help with that retention element. And it just would have been nice to sort of just connect those dots a little bit more about how that product ultimately does that. Because you're absolutely right that sometimes all it does take is just a teacher to connect with a student. So would have loved to just thought a little bit more about how those elements really kind of fit together in the broader piece of the pie to help with retention and decreasing dropouts. So really nice job.
John, you had a company that tried to sell into universities. Interesting perspective on this in terms of lived experience. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're slow to move. I mean, I think it has to be pretty compelling and priced right initially. Like get that first customer or two, get the first two. Don't worry about, I wouldn't even worry about making money on the first few. Just get in somewhere and show results. And I think it's actually a really good way for the universities to evaluate their teachers as well. Which teachers are sensitive to this, and when the data is put in front of them, respond to it, and triage students either to tutors, to counselors, to financial advisors. Like, I think it's a great idea. And I think it's going to be, you're going to have to be patient and get in early. Privacy will be a big one. Cost will be a big one. But ultimately, it benefits the universities and the students. And I think you've got a really good idea on your hand. And being able to roll up the data from university to university and start to really see patterns on kind of performance, not only academic performance, but when students are studying, if you could get them to log in and kind of note when they're starting to work on things, like people who do things last minute are more at risk than people who are a little more methodical. They don't have the study habits when they came in. So I think there's a lot of aggregated data that would be really valuable here.
Kirsten, we'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo some of the other judges. I love the problem set, solution set. It's really, one of those rare cases where it's sort of win-win-win, where all of the incentives are really aligned across the board. That you guys are showing the value of your platform, the students are receiving a huge benefit and staying enrolled, and the university is retaining those students. So love seeing that. I think I wish I would have, I guess the other thing I loved is the aggressiveness of the plan. I love that you're trying to go after like 5% of your target market right out of the bat. That's fun to see. I wish I would have seen a little bit more data from the work that you had done throughout the summer. If you had talked to students who are facing these problems or teachers who have interacted with these problems and just shown that data just a little bit more to us so that we could understand the problem at that more, to Sierra's point, that more human level. But thank you so much. Nice job.
All right. Please, everybody, join me in a round of applause for Team TED. Great job, guys. Tom, Cooper, Riley, way to go.
Thank you. Thank you to all three of the judges. I wish we could talk about this for another hour, but it was great for the like 7-8 minutes that we had to talk about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Cooper. All right. So we're at Team 3, and after this, we're going to take a break. I want to invite, we've got a lot of individuals from the community who know a lot about these topics. And if you've got some feedback or connections for the teams, please feel free to drop it into the chat as we go along, and the participants can pick that up. Moving on to Team 3, we have Brielle Bayens, Naresh Kumanduri, Naresh, and Gabriel Grant, and Rachel Pudalov. They are team building blocks. Come on in. Team building blocks. All right, this is what we call dead time in the industry. We're waiting for team building blocks to come on in. We're getting them promoted. There they are. Come on in, guys. All right. Gabriel, Naresh, Brielle, how you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
All right, we got a video. Fire away, Nate.
Hi, I'm Brielle, CEO of Building Blocks. If you're in tune with the 24/7 news cycle or a frequenter of the roads we use every day, you're probably aware of our crumbling American infrastructure. Here at home in Colorado, driving on poorly maintained roads is costing the state $1.9 billion annually. In the Denver metro area, 40% of major and state maintained roads are in poor or mediocre condition. When our infrastructure is properly functioning, we're enabled to connect to our vast networks and drive economic growth. Properly functioning infrastructure requires collaboration across the American economy. Building Blocks is a data collection and presentation company. Through its data centralization processes and infrastructure mapping features, Building Blocks provides a simple-to-use platform for private and public actors. Building Blocks can aid our customer base to efficiently recognize where the greatest needs are in our infrastructural network, starting here in the Denver metro area. Here is a first look at our platform. Using AI and GIS-based tools, users can easily navigate our integrated mapping software with advanced infrastructure filtering. They are encouraged to report infrastructure-related issues they observe in their local communities and can view them through pins on the menu. For users who seek a more detailed history about infrastructural deficits, our platform provides past and live contract information posted to local and federal repositories. For those with an interest in risk and value assessment, we are developing an image processing model which expedites the labor-intensive surveying process. Building Blocks is a one-stop shop for concerned citizens, policymakers, independent contractors, and insurance agencies. Building Blocks aims to make money through a scalable and tiered membership model. Aligning with related GIS presentation services, Building Blocks offers a free-to-use interactive data platform for the general public who want to gain further insight into infrastructural issues and provide input data of their own. Additionally, we offer a scalable pro version of our software, which allows the more engaged user to utilize our most exciting features apart from the integrated map. Given the nature of our startup, our costs are restricted to the data we use and the technology that sets our company apart. Low overhead costs, coupled with a variety of expanding markets, indicate that Building Blocks can be implemented with low risk and high reward for our success. In order to spread the word about our platform, we aim to create a network of stakeholders involved in this space. Community-focused apps such as Nextdoor will connect citizens directly to our platform. Building Blocks enables users to recognize local deficiencies with powerful data. Public infrastructure, modern software, and adjacent industries pose a very exciting challenge for those hopeful in improving the core of American infrastructure. Public capital in the US totals at a value well over $10 trillion, with 93% falling under the jurisdiction of state and local governments. The market for road and highway construction stands at $109 billion in 2021, with an expected growth of 8% this year alone. In 2020, the global GIS market was valued at $8.1 billion, with projected growth coming at a staggering 12.4% per year. All of this is compounded by the massive growth of the AI-based tools market, with $25 billion valuation of their software services market in 2020. Improving our aging infrastructure is an extremely salient issue, so there's never been a better time to get involved. At the federal level, there is the pending bipartisan infrastructure framework bill that would bring in a significant amount of funding for infrastructure. Making use of innovative technology will spearhead continued growth and improvement for generations to come. Streamlining the process of connecting necessary information to affected parties has never been more crucial. Right now, Relevant data is extremely fragmented and difficult to navigate, wasting our customers' time. This tedious process hinders seamless private and public collaboration. Building Blocks mitigates this issue by connecting resources to where they're needed most. Our team comes from a variety of backgrounds, including experience working for the governor of Colorado to Zayo Group. Our educational credentials range from engineering to political science. Our diverse backgrounds have enriched our approach to providing a modern solution to an age-old problem. We are Building Blocks, defining the problem, simplifying the solution.
Thanks, Team Building Blocks. John, fire away.
So, big problem. A lot of money sloshing around. Always good places to start a business when there's trillions of dollars of funding coming and a mismatch of where the funding goes. I think it's great. I'd like to know. I got a little spun around there in the video, frankly, as to exactly how it's going to work. Like, maybe you can give me a little more detail on how a given region of the country, how the AI would function to prioritize and match that with funding.
Hi, I'm Gabe. I'm the CTO. I'll handle that question. So there's two main parts of our tech. Is one, you were talking about the AI, and that would be handling a lot of our data and information. So I think a good example is, let's say we had like a pothole that we wanted to identify. We would use probably some image processing to analyze the pothole, figure out the depth, the size, what type of pothole, the work necessary to get it done. And then that would connect to our database and then allow it to analyze and create an analysis of the situation and what needs to be done to fix that specific hole. And then that would connect to our second part, which is our GIS software. And that would be how we display stuff through maps. And that's what we would show to our customers, so they could then use that information to do an analysis. And we hope that our software would prevent people from sending surveyors out, which requires a lot of time and energy.
Got it. Thank you.
Kirsten.
Yeah, I agree. Huge problem. I'm curious, and I imagine you started by investigating this problem. Can you take us on the journey? Like, what led you to this particular solution and solving this particular part of that problem? What did you learn this summer?
Yeah, hi, I'm Naresh, the CPO of this company. I think like we all kind of approach this problem with an interest in like public policy and like how we could better our communities. And I think like a big hot button topic has just been like our infrastructure. And Gabe kind of really brought that up to us in a clear picture. And we were also very interested in like, how can we use modern solutions to solve this problem, right? And AI is kind of on the forefront of, solving problems. So yeah.
And my name is Rachel, and just capitalizing on what Naresh said, I'm a political science major, and something I see so often is just there's such a strong disconnect between constituents and the government. So basically, we're helping to bridge that gap, and I think for me that was really an important goal.
Sierra.
Thanks. I love that element there where you sort of thought very intentionally about meeting the constituents where they already are using those apps. Would love to understand a little bit more about how that gets thought about in terms of actually becoming like analytical and stuff. Like, how do you envision that working through? Like, is there someone kind of on the taking, a next door post and feeding that into a system in a data-driven way? Is that how you envision it, or is it more of just a reporting tool?
So yeah, we envision like people coming to our platform and actually, inputting data, pictures, like what they think is happening. But the majority of the data that we anticipate using would be either web scraped or aggregated from national and local repositories. So we wouldn't actually be focused on the public and using data. We'd rather prefer them interacting with the platform.
And just to super clarify, who is the actual buyer? Who is paying you in those two different plans?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we would say our main customer are insurance agencies and the contractors, and we recommend they use one of our subscription tiers. And then we recommend that the local governments are able to use our free version, but they can also use the corporate scalable tier. We also have different subscription ideas for how big the company is. So if you begin at 0 to 100, we would charge you about $15, and then scaling up, it would be around 10 to 12 because that is what current mapping data companies are charging.
So I'm just going to jump in and let you know that you have about 20 seconds to ask one last question, or just move on to feedback if you prefer.
Why don't we move into feedback? And if there's a question that's lurking out there, we'll go with it. But John, fire away.
Sorry, I had a technical glitch there. I did not hear.
Oh, good. So we're moving into feedback. What thoughts do you have about building blocks?
I think it's as I said, interesting problem to solve. The UGC element of identifying some of it, I'm still a little unsure as to when the question gets asked of who's your customer and there's multiple answers, sometimes that can be distracting. Like, I think you're better off honing in probably on one or two. I think you have an interesting nugget here that could be a great business. But I think you need to refine a little of who's the target customer and what prioritization you're going to go after them. I would also be a little wary early on in the presentation of too much video, because it can be sometimes a little dreamy and distracting, as opposed to like putting opportunity, solution up there and being a little more literal. Maybe that's just for me because I'm slow, but.
Thank you, John. Kirsten.
Great. Yeah, I also, love the problem. It's very timely, right? Nobody can argue against that. I think for me, in terms of the actual pitch, I thought you spent a little bit too much time framing the problem, which I don't think I've ever said. So, but look,
breaking ground.
That's awesome. This is a problem we all live and breathe every day, right? If we drive around, if we ride our bikes, if we walk around our streets. So I think you could have saved time there, which you could have spent, to me, where I went was like, okay, how is this what is a workaround today? Because this information is getting there somehow, even if it's fragmented. Like, what is the workaround today? What problems does that cause? Because that seems like the meat of what you're trying to solve to me. And then I wish I would have learned more about what actually goes into identifying, prioritizing, and then doing the work, like bidding out the work, doing the work of getting these things fixed. So I think that would also help us, we're novices compared to you. You spent all summer thinking about this problem. I think that would help us really understand exactly this piece of the problem that you're trying to solve. Thank you so much.
All right, Sierra, we'll give you the final word.
Great, thank you. I actually disagreed with Kirsten a little bit. I loved the research that you all did on this particular problem. I thought you presented it extremely well. It was very clear to me, and I think to other members of the audience, just how much work you put in to actually understanding what is going on out there, what the real market is, real dollars there. It was just, you demonstrated that research very clearly. And as someone who's not familiar with this, I appreciated that. I would have loved to have heard a little bit more about how you maybe thought about the broader competitive landscape or ecosystem. There's a great company out there that's trying to solve this in a slightly different problem using sensor technology. Happy to make an intro to you afterwards if you're interested. But when I was hearing your pitch, I immediately thought of, okay, what does the world look like when you start to combine some of these different elements of kind of giving governments and contractors a better picture of our roads and things. And so I would have loved to have heard a little bit more about what you see as currently available out there. To Kirsten's point, what does, that data, when it's all fragmented, really start to do when you start to combine some of those things? So really nice job. Appreciated I actually really love the video too. So I'm maybe the odd man out on the judges.
One of my favorite bits of feedback I got about a Silicon Flatirons event was, Brad, I don't always understand what's being said there, but I can always understand a good fight. So Sierra, thank you for giving us a good fight among the judges. And please help me give a warm thank you and congratulations to the team. Way to go, guys. Team Building Blocks.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, we are scheduled for a break. I'm going to ask you guys to accelerate getting the video off, run to the restroom, get a drink. We're going to start in 5 minutes shortly after 6:50, and that'll bring us almost on time. We'll see you in 6:50 return. See you then. And Ethan, I said we'll be back at 6:50. I know that's 8:50 out there on the right coast where you are. Carolina Procopi and Cynthia Lim. Cynthia, Carolina, Ethan, are you ready to roll?
We're all set. Thank you.
All right, Ethan, I know you've got a video. You ready to play it?
Yep, that sounds good.
All right, let's do this.
I can't start screen sharing while another participant is sharing.
All right, so Eileen will take down the companies that supported Startup Summer, clearing the way, Ethan, for your video. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you. Nonprofits form one of the largest backbones of social capital in the US. But how do they turn one-time charitable donations into recurring revenue and sustain long-term engagement with their donors? Research suggests that finding answers to these questions may not be as straightforward as you might first think. Only half of donors return to make a recurring payment from one year to the next. We are setting out to solve this retention issue. Enter Volunteer, the one-stop shop for increased donor charity engagement. Our interactive mobile app aims to streamline payment automation, event management, and community networking, so charities can better solicit and communicate with their supporters. These features slot in nicely with market surveys, which have validated the effectiveness of doing, communicating, and giving, and improving donor engagement. On the whole, our mission is to support the nonprofits that support us all, from connecting pools of volunteers to increasing donor retention rates. Let's take a look at a graphic prototype of Volunteer to get a feel for the user flow. After loading up the mobile app, an interactive Discover feed appears, with information on charities and filters respective to different causes. If we decide to support a charity, a pop-up window allows us to customize how much money we would like to pledge. Then, after processing the payment, we are given access to a member-exclusive portal. Community admins can even post events for us to sign up for as a volunteer or attendee. On the next tab, imagine that an organization wants to poll some of their closest supporters about a workshop they are test running. This functionality is quick and responsive. We can also receive behind-the-scenes updates about how money pledged is making a direct impact over time. And if we get curious about who else is in our network of supporters, the app is rounded out by a comprehensive and customizable profile system with features such as private messaging. Alternative fundraising platforms in the mobile app market lack an emphasis on sustained relationship building between donors. They are also bogged down by pricey membership structures, which preclude small nonprofits from signing up affordably. Unlike its competitors, however, Volunteer incentivizes long-term engagement and helps charities expand their donor base over time. This component represents our company's defining competitive edge. Our business model is situated squarely in the competitive landscape, with a 3% platform fee taken as a cut from donations received, and an additional 2.9% charged by the payment processor, which could be Stripe or PayPal. Some of our closest competitors have platform rates that well exceed the 4% marker, positioning Volunteer as a cost-effective alternative. Because nonprofits are paying us on a fee basis that scales proportional to the volume of donations received, we are able to support small and large-scale organizations indiscriminately and service a wider prospective customer base. We will also ensure that this pricing model is communicated transparently and candidly to customers, as reflected by our marketing strategy and app design. Factoring in demographic research about the size and tendencies of charitable giving in the US, our total addressable market is approximately $4.3 billion. Assuming a user base initially focused in the Boulder area, our serviceable obtainable market, in turn, is $2.8 million, which we hope will expand as we penetrate other markets outside of Boulder. Now is one of the best times to invest in the nonprofit sector. 2021 marks the 6th consecutive year of growth when it comes to charitable donations. And better yet, online giving has grown by 12.1% over the past year. This number is projected to keep climbing as online payment becomes more ubiquitous. To receive buy-in from charities, we plan on holding workshops along the Front Range, where we can work with customers to oversee our app's rollout and provide free training on how organizations can expand their digital presence. Our marketing strategy will revolve around partnerships with nonprofits that leverage tapping into pre-existing donor networks built out by organizations. Confining our initial outreach to the Boulder area will also help us attract pools of donors that are shared between nonprofits, expediting the registration of users onto our platform. Guided by this approach, our vision is to sign up 15 organizations by the end of 2021. Then, we plan to double that number before next summer. Our next step forward in the development roadmap is converting our graphic prototype into a functional app powered by React Native. When it comes time for release, we'll use your funding to host the platform on AWS. Throughout the process, we anticipate optimizing the UX for donors to be an initial hurdle and hope to prioritize customer feedback as much as we can to address that. We have already conducted interviews and surveys with nonprofits around the Boulder area and are interested in hosting blind testing sessions at local libraries. Volunteer is led by a team of undergrads at CU Boulder and Harvard, with experience interning at employers all the way from NASA to SAP and Intel. Carrying the vision of simplified donor charity engagement to fruition, we hope to apply our skills at the intersection of nonprofit partnership management and mobile app design. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. We're excited to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, I did it. That was great. Thank you, guys. And Kirsten, over to you for the first question.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. My question is kind of around the donor side, so you're the users on the platform that are going to be—
Kirsten, could you back up just a second? We lost your video. So go ahead. Your audio, excuse me.
Yep. You have me now?
Yep.
Great. So my question is around the donors who are going to be using your platform. What have you learned about the profile of those donors? Are they young? Are they old? Yeah, give me a sense of that. And how much are they donating each time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were actually looking at different ideas because we were talking with Lily and she's like, are you going to target those big donors or the smaller ones? So we do have the big donors classified as 25,000 per year and more, but the average is like 2,500. So it's like way smaller, and that smaller one is who we're targeting. And that is because that's the one that companies have a hard time organizing. Like if you have a few big donors, it's okay, you can just take those in. But these are going to be organizing events and engagement and all of the fundraising for all of those multiple people that you can't like go and talk to.
And to expound upon that a little bit, alongside what Cynthia mentioned about the crowdsourced like donation market, we will also I also just want to mention that it's 69% of charitable donations in the US are given by individuals. And so it's that subset in particular that is not coming from like large donors and instead just individual people.
Great, thank you.
Sierra.
Yeah, I want to dial in a little bit on that piece. I'm curious, like, why is it that after talking to your customers, it seems like the recurring donation from those individuals is so hard to stick? Like, what was it that you heard from your customers that made you realize that this product was the right fit for that?
Yeah, I can take that one. So one person that we were talking to actually this morning, we've been talking to several different nonprofits, and something she mentioned is she's a like midwife birth assistant. And so her donors all come from a specific sector. They're like people that are interested in like medical, the whole medical field, and they go through these phases of life. So her donors tend to be people that are like young and they have this money, but then they go through the phase and they like get married and stuff like that. So the donors are on and off like throughout the different years, depending on the different nonprofit sectors. So that's one factor. It'll change like their stage of life. And additionally, it's hard for them because multiple like donors actually support multiple organizations. So it's hard for them to like remember that. And this is also going to help the donor side to remember all their different ones because it'll be in this one place. Yeah, and then I can pass it off to Ethan. I know you wanted to add to that.
That was great, Cynthia. I just wanted to mention as well that there is definitely a technological barrier which inhibits one-time donations from becoming recurring. And that is well supported by literature in donor engagement, which suggests that actively communicating with and attending events or volunteering at events are all pathways that improve the likelihood that a donor will be recurring. And if a company or an organization doesn't have a tool that standardizes that and allows them to interface with their volunteers easily, it can be more difficult to up their engagement.
John.
How do you think about the fee structure, and do you think that would be a barrier to the charities? And it depends on the charity. If someone were to give, $2,500, it's $75 fee, like per. And so what if someone wanted to give $5? Then it starts to get up there. Do you cap your fees? And then the second question would be, I know a lot of organizations that I work with, they usually have a big fundraiser that's often built around a charity auction with a silent auction and then a live auction to follow. Have you thought about functionality for that? Because the ones that are out there are pretty brutal.
Before you guys answer, I just want to let you know that you have about 30 seconds to answer John's question, and then we're going to move on to the next phase.
I appreciate you raising that point about the cut that we're taking out of donations, and that is something that we want to present very transparently to users. We find it to be consistent with other platforms on the market. One of our closest competitors, Fundly, for example, takes a 4.9% platform fee, and that doesn't even count what is charged by the payment processor. And so we think we're well positioned in terms of the landscape of other apps. And I would like to pass it to Cynthia to expound upon your second question.
Thanks.
Yeah. So for your second question, one of our competitors is Colorado Gives, especially in this area. And they do hold those days exactly like you mentioned. They have all these nonprofits come and they make lots of money. The thing with this one is it's scalable. So with those days, she was talking how they partner with First Bank. The more nonprofits that come, the less each nonprofit actually gets. So with our model, it's no matter the size or no matter the amount of nonprofits, you really can get a small share because it's that small percentage. And we're not putting them all on this day. But if they wanted to do that, we do have the volunteering aspect, which is the whole events page, and they can always go on there as well.
Perfect. Thank you, team. Before we wrap up, Kirsten, 30, 45 seconds feedback. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Hey guys, I loved the thoughtfulness around sort of go to market and how you'd interact with the charities out there, starting in the Boulder market, starting small, proving it out and then growing from there. So I just love that approach. I think it makes a ton of sense for what you're trying to do. And, for me, where my mind goes is, this is one piece of probably a relatively small puzzle for these charities, right? It's a big problem to solve, but it's sort of what's the big vision? Where do once you've captured this part of that problem, where is it that you take this, to become this, a major problem solver for these nonprofits? Thank you.
Sierra.
Great responses to questions, guys. We asked a lot of stuff out of left field, and I thought you did a great job answering those. Exactly what I was asking for is exactly what you gave me, so very much appreciate that. As just sort of a comment on maybe the pitch a little bit, I missed really the connection of the events and the app piece and why that sort of drives engagement. So I would have developed that a little bit more in the pitch, just because it wasn't entirely clear to me how these events and other things were really going to necessarily be connected to the app. And then secondly, maybe to just drive a little on Kirsten's point, would have loved to have also heard a little bit about how the app could possibly benefit the nonprofits in other ways. What sort of analytics, if any, are going to be useful for the nonprofits to understand those donors a little bit more? Is there a massive sort of social campaign or something that goes viral that then is able to convert people onto a recurring donation stream or something like that? I think that piece is really interesting for nonprofits and certainly something I know they're trying to solve.
Thank you, Sierra. John?
Yeah, I thought it was great, team. Big problem to solve. One of the biggest problems that this does solve, which I think you alluded to it, is this notion of being front of mind and being on everyone's phone. I mean, the amount of outreach people have from political candidates and 30 different charities, it's easy for people to kind of spend their allocation before it even comes around for their time for a given charity a year. So the ability to kind of have other things going on there that integrate people and keep them square in mind, I think is a pretty powerful idea. I like what you're doing.
All right. Well, Ethan, Cynthia, Carolina, great work. Please help me give a round of applause to the team. I'll just note that so far we've got ESG issues, student retention, infrastructure, and supporting charities on the table. Really interesting how Startup Summer participants have moved towards trying to find profitable, scalable models on problems that matter. And this is a great example of that as well. Team number 5, you guys ready? We'll go with the transition. And team number 5 is Ben Broik, Rachel Drake, and Alan Oden. Ben, Rachel, Alan, are you guys on? Not yet. While they're coming on, I also want to give a shout out to the moms. I assume we've got some dads on as well. And I love that we've got grandparents, because if moms and dads are supportive, that support's can be like, hey, really good, but you should have done this. Whereas the grandparents are just like, that was fabulous. They're like, you guys nailed it. Don't listen to the judges whatsoever. You were the best. So welcome, grandparents. Fun to see everybody in here. Ben, Alan, you guys ready to roll? And Rachel? All right, guys, take it away.
Who are you? Today, people too often answer with what they do for a living. I'm a doctor. I'm an engineer. I'm a lawyer. But why not express yourself by doing what you enjoy or your hobbies? Who are you really? Oh, I'm a person who enjoys tennis or music or hiking. We're more than just our occupations, but not everyone has a hobby. 25%, a large portion of people are lost in something and can't express themselves without talking about what they do for work. At Hobby Seeker, we want to change that percentage to 0. Hi, my name is Ben Broik, and I represent myself, Rachel Drake, and Alan Oden as the founders of Hobby Seeker. We struggled to find a passion outside of our work or school that brought us joy in our daily lives. So we have come together to solve the problem that so many people struggle with at some point in their lives. Hobby Seeker is a program dedicated to giving you the tools to find a hobby you love and the motivation to apply yourself while being surrounded by a supportive community. After making an account by entering in your name, email, address, and password, the user will be asked simple questions like, what is your budget? And what is your time allowance for this? The program will then allow for them to choose up to 3 topics of interest from a wide span of options. Short introductory videos of an expert explaining the challenges, rewards, and emotions behind each hobby will be played to give the user a feel for what they might be stepping into. After, the user will be paired with a fellow user in their area. And together they can get to know each other and use the chat feature and ask any related questions about the hobby that they have in common. Everything Hobby Seeker offers is completely free, meaning no subscription fees for the user. This allows the user to meet like-minded people and enjoy all of the features of the program without spending $1 of their own money. Now, the market that Hobby Seeker is entering is huge. People of all ages have desired to step away from school or their occupation for so long, and the hobby industry market is now valued at about $2 trillion, meaning there is no shortage of possible growth for Hobby Seeker. During the pandemic, most of the companies related to us saw their user count more than double. Masterclass hit 1 million subscribers since its release. Skillshare hit 5 million people who have created a subscription for the site. Needless to say, the hobby industry is gigantic. Now, income from ads displaying content relevant to the hobby a user will be exploring will make up a majority of our revenue. Companies will pay us to advertise their products related to the user's interests. For example, if a user is interested in guitar, information on where to purchase guitars and practice books will be shown, as well as users and guitars in the area that they can visit, such as tutors. But we are fixing a problem other programs have fallen short of solving. Skillshare is a long-term investment on projects and hobbies that you might lose interest in. Masterclass, although very inspirational, costs far too much for users. Now, Hobby Seeker provides foundational knowledge, the pros and the cons, the ups and the downs of what you are interested in, so you can determine if it's an activity that aligns with your lifestyle. Our program points you to the activities in your area and gives you the tools to participate in the vibrant community around you without any of the worry, hassle, or frustration. Currently, Hobby Seeker will offer a select number of hobbies, and the goal is expanding and adding more as we go. Other aspirations is to grow the number of countries that Hobby Seeker is available in order to grow the number of potential businesses and users on the program. People are more than their jobs, and finding a hobby shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg. Shouldn't cost you anything to try something new. It should be fun, and it should be an easy experience. So come to Hobby Seeker and try to find a hobby you like, because Hobby Seeker is designed for you to find you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hobby Seeker. John Levesey, I was just smiling. I was watching that. This team has no idea that you live this for some period of time. Sierra, with your permission, I'm gonna give John the first question. So John and his team at what was called Simpos, but Craftsy was the product. They did a ton of stuff around videos and hobbies. John, fire away.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Yeah, this is near and dear to my heart. We ended up with over 14 million registered users around the world who all, I would say, if you met them, would identify themselves. We call them first paragraph hobbies. They'd say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I live in Wisconsin and I'm a quilter. Like that was, these are the passionates. So I've seen firsthand how great this can be as a business model. I guess my question is, finding people who are already passionate is easy, right? If I want to find quilters, sewists, guitarists, I know the magazines they read, the blogs they go to, and I know where to, find them. How do you acquire customers here? Because you don't know, they don't know. I mean, it's like Match.com for hobbies a bit. I like it, but how do you acquire customers at a cost of acquisition with an ad-based model that would sustain broad acquisition initially is my question. Like, how would you get customers?
Again, I was just going to thank all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here and judging our very small and baby companies at this point. But to answer your question, we use ads as well to find customers. Instagram has so many analytics to find customers, and most of that is time spent on the app. So Instagram has a wonderful way of showing me how many people spend way too much time on that app. Snapchat has similar but very small analytics in the same sense, and so many things find very easy ways to say, hey, a customer is spending way too much time on their phone. So an ad could come up that says, that shows hobby seekers. And what I found for myself, I have had a little bit of struggle with ADD, and I've recently been diagnosed, and I realized that Instagram was taking up too much of my time, and so that would be an amazing starting point, is to say some people spend too much time on something that doesn't really benefit them, and so that would be the first and primary method. But I think Rachel, unless you weren't raising your hand there. But yeah, that we would want to use kind of that analytics with Instagram ads and targeted ads.
Great.
Rachel, go ahead.
I think just adding on to what Ben said, like influencers and people on YouTube really use their platform to give people ideas on how to spend their time. So I think that is another way that we would really reach people who are spending too much time on screens rather than finding something that they are passionate about.
Sierra, go ahead.
Love it. So COVID relevant. It's been my new favorite question is what obscure hobby did you pick up in the pandemic? Curious if you've thought about sort of combining this with sort of an educational element. It's one thing to meet up with someone who both of us are maybe interested in guitar. How do you imagine sort of connecting those people into the resources or the right resources within their community to actually take that hobby one step further?
Oh, Alan, were you hoping to answer this one?
Yeah, I can answer this one.
Okay, cool.
So another way with our social networking that we're going to add into the program is that you'll be able to find people who have done this before. They'll be volunteering to give out their information and so on to help, like, hey, if you, for say like tennis, they can reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to get better at tennis. Could we go to like a tennis practice field and have some matches together? And so our social interaction will help meet you with people who have indeed done this. And with that, we can expand you to like, hey, if you like tennis, you might also enjoy badminton and other similar activities, which will allow you to go and continue expanding that. And then soon, as the longer you use this app and become more used to these activities, then people can reach out to you since you've suddenly grown these skills and you can start teaching and like go giving back.
I'm sorry, before we move to our next question, we are kind of out of time for the questions.
Lily,
so
thank
Brad,
you for keeping us on time. We'll transition over. I'll just say, Alan, you had me at do you like tennis? And Rachel, I love that game. So John, feedback, 30, 45 seconds. What do you got?
I love what you're doing. I think the brand message is, particularly if you're going to position it in a guilt-inducing environment like Instagram, where people, we all loathe ourselves eventually after we've been on for a while. So I think what you want to do is your message is that these hobbies induce meditation in a flow state, that you find your peace and it's productive time spent. And if that's your hook, it doesn't matter what the hobby is, but use your time productively and be a better you. I think it's a that's my feedback.
Fabulous. Sierra.
This just feels so like such a great combination of like really innovative, novel sort of thinking of capturing folks using platforms that they already think about, Instagram, influencers, and then turning it into more like external hobbies, right? It's not in the cyber world. It's really like a get outside kind of thing. So it feels like a really novel approach, if I may say, to John, to the larger problem and customer segment that I know John used to work with Craftsy, like your larger markets were quilters who maybe were, not young, really, college level folks. Like this just feels like this is a really neat approach to that. It felt great. It was refreshing and something that I actually would use.
Kirsten.
I think building off of that, I love the connection that you guys have to the problem that you're solving. I think that really shone through. And it speaks to, a lot of the problems that we all faced over the last couple of years. So I love that. I think for me, I wish I would have learned more about the content, blame the BC. I always go to like, how does the scale, but how does the content get created? Who is kind of monitoring it, creating it? How does it evolve over time? That's for me where I would have gone next.
All right, well, please help me give a warm thank you and congratulations to Alan, Rachel, Ben. Way to go, guys. Hobby Seeker, well done. And that brings us to our sixth and final company for the evening. Man, it's fun. I mean, these companies 6 weeks ago did not exist. It's a ton of fun to see the way everybody has tackled this. And this final team is going to be super interesting as well. Dewan Protiva, Yibo Fan, and Anya Hudson. This is Asha. Dewan, Yibo, Anya, or Jan?
Yes, we're on, Brad.
All right, great to see you guys. Dewan, take it away.
Yes, Nate will actually be sharing our video today.
Here we go.
Picture this. You are 18 years old and begin to notice some changes in your body. Your periods are brutal, always at different times, and sometimes even absent. Despite dieting, you're starting to uncontrollably gain a lot of weight. You feel crazy, and your self-esteem is tanking. You've now gained a new understanding of pain. Your condition remains a mystery until you hear the 4 letters PCOS, and all of your symptoms begin to make sense. Yet, you still wonder, how are others dealing with this new lifestyle? PCOS, also known as polycystic ovarian syndrome, is a lifestyle disorder common among women of reproductive age. Approximately 5 million women in the US are diagnosed with PCOS.
I know this because I am one of those 5 million. My name is Duan Portiva, and I am one of the co-founders of ASHA.
Our team is made of a trio of activists who have years of experience in brand marketing, project management, and campaign fundraising. ASHA is a digital platform focused on providing safe and moderated communities for users with PCOS. You will get personalized advice from others and make friends who understand and support your empowered lifestyle. Through our easy-to-use platform, users are able to create customized user profiles, make posts related to different subcategories, hold private group conversations, and directly message others.
Based on our consumer research, our potential customers have said that there are hardly any reliable moderated places where they can get advice on their PCOS issues. According to our market research survey, our target customer is likely someone who's between the ages of 18 through 24.
She has recently been diagnosed with PCOS and searches the internet at least 2 to 3 times per month regarding how to best manage her lifestyle. She also enjoys efficiency, which is exactly what our app does for her, mitigating the time spent scouring the internet for a reliable piece of thoughtful information. We'll notify our app users immediately with any updates so she can maintain her empowered lifestyle even beyond her college-aged years. Our main competitor is mypcosteam.com, which boasts a confusing layout, publishes unverified information, and lacks marketing channels designed to target older Gen Z and younger millennials. ASHA aims to use their platform as a starting point for shifting over younger users.
To connect with our target audience, we will use social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, and others to reach users who are already looking for different ways to learn more about their reproductive health.
ASHA will provide fully moderated communities designed specifically for discussions about PCOS-centered lifestyles. As far as the timeline, we are currently working on the prototype of the application and will close out on our market research phase by early 2022. Next, we'll look into getting partnerships with local gynecologists starting in the Boulder area to get a waiting list of patients to use our platform after they're diagnosed. After hiring an app developer, we plan on finalizing our build by late 2022. Our long-term goals include providing anonymous data to global pharmaceutical companies to better facilitate research behind PCOS, while creating relevant ads based on aggregate data that are personalized to each user. For our startup, our biggest costs come mainly from hiring app developers, marketing, and maintenance. The total addressable market for femtech companies is about $21.7 billion globally. The serviceable addressable market is $61.8 million, and our serviceable obtainable market is about $10 million. To summarize, ASHA is a digital platform focused on providing safe and moderated communities for users with polycystic ovarian syndrome. You will get personalized advice from others and make friends who understand and support your empowered lifestyle. Join Asha as we revolutionize the femtech industry one thoughtful conversation at a time.
All right, well, thank you to Dewan, Yibo, and Anya. Sierra, why don't you lead off? Take it away.
I just want to say, absolutely love this product. You made this presentation personal. You brought it home, and I can tell, like, this is a real problem in a real market. And I can say that speaking on a personal level, that there really is not a safe space for folks, for young women to talk about this stuff. So congratulations on actually really identifying what I think is a real pain point and recognizing that your solution is very novel from what's currently out there in the competitive landscape. So just really nice job. Thought the presentation overall was really good. Curious a little bit on sort of the larger data play. You mentioned that you're thinking about maybe doing this and selling some of the data to larger companies to further pursue research. Have you thought at all a little bit about some of the legalities around HIPAA and some of the content, like how you would think about having to anonymize that data to be able to deliver it to those folks? What barriers would you have there?
Anya, do you want to take that question?
Right. So with HIPAA, the only sensitive, or we're not taking any sensitive medical information from the profile or the users. The only information they're essentially going to give us is their birth date and the date of their diagnosis. So the data that we would be giving, rather selling, would just be in terms of their age and when they're diagnosed.
Great, Kirsten.
Yeah, echo Sierra. Love what you guys are doing. Nice job on the presentation. My question is around, I guess, two parts. One, you mentioned protecting sort of the integrity of the information that lives on the platform. So I would love to hear more about sort of your thoughts on how you plan to do that. And then the second one is, I love that you mentioned you did a survey. I'm just curious if you learned anything that changed, the course of this project through the data that you collected there.
Ibo, do you want to take that question or should I take it?
Duan, why don't you take it away?
Okay, thank you. So based on our survey, what we learned is that, first of all, our target demographic is very young. A lot of the people that answered the survey were between the ages of about 18 through 29. And the reason why we sort of focused on 18 through 24 is because at that point of a woman's life is really when, these polycystic ovarian syndromes start popping up, and, she can actually sort of reverse those symptoms if she acts quickly enough. And that's why we did not go after an older demographic, like say 30 plus. Another thing that we noticed based on the survey is really how many people there are that have issues like PCOS. Another issue that's similar to PCOS is irregular bleeding, which is actually a precursor to this issue. So really, we wanted to help all of these people and give them a place where they feel secure and empowered to have this disorder and not feel bad about themselves.
Thank you.
John?
Great job. I found it really, really interesting. I think it was already mentioned, the notion of moderation. When you talked about one of the competitors, I think it was called it sounded like what you alluded to is there may be some dubious advice or well, it's the internet. So I think that's an important facet there that you called out, of having someone there to moderate the discussions. I feel like the medical community, getting them on your side at diagnosis, if someone could be handed a card that said, hey, here's your diagnosis, there's a lot of people who've learned to live with this, and you can connect with these folks and help yourself through. And then that model and this app build can then be cloned, because there's 20 or 30 other diseases that aren't mass market that where there's a lack of information, and you can just kind of add different categories there, which would be
John, I'm sorry. I'm just going to jump in and let you know that we have about 20 seconds for them to answer the question.
So
did you have a question?
I'll use my feedback for a question, but that was, I think you're doing a great thing here, and I like the way you presented it. So there's not really, if any question, it would be, how do you get it in people's hands?
Let's take a second to address that, and then we'll move back over into feedback. Duan?
Yeah, of course. In the presentation, we talked about how we would get this in people's hands, and really we would acquire different people through social media platforms, since we noticed that since the population is very young, we would need to target Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, and even TikTok to try to get this app in their hands and really get them talking about this sort of niche field in the medical area.
All right, excellent. Before we congratulate and thank the team, Sierra, 30 seconds feedback.
I gave a long-winded answer in my question, but I guess similar just to John, if you continue to pursue this, I would think about how to kind of capture a slightly broader market and maybe address how this app could stay with your customers for longer, assuming they, again, building a safe space for them to be able to talk about any potential sort of reproductive issues as they grow in age, endometriosis or, miscarriage, all of those things there is a very big and growing market for. And I think you're almost you can kind of get them early and then continue to use the app, throughout the life of their journey. And so I think it'd be really interesting for you to keep thinking about.
Great. Kirsten?
Yeah, I love the community-based approach. This being able to kind of take control over something that you might want to remain private about in your group of friends, but you get to find this community online. I absolutely love that, and echo a lot of the judges' thoughts as well. I think for me, where I would spend more time thinking is around monetization, and how do you do that in a way that keeps the integrity that you want of this site. I almost wonder, is this a nonprofit, that gets funded through, grants? That's where my mind goes, or, does there need to be a monetization? So just to make sure that the monetization is in alignment with the ethos of the organization.
Yeah. Do you want me to go, Brad?
Yep. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. And don't underestimate how vague physicians can be because of time constraints, and how lost and scared people can be, and that they're willing to pay to talk to an expert. And so I like the community element a lot, but I also feel like, back to the moderation question, and having someone with expertise to be on there, publish articles, tips, advice. You may have a paid app on your hand, and you may not have to support it with advertising.
All right, please join me in a rousing thank you to Team Asha. Great job, guys.
So, Brad, before we move to deliberations and everything, I just want to highlight Dawn for a second. She's been working really hard on her own program called Girls to Industry, trying to build the entrepreneurial community and build a space for women as well. So I do want to highlight that as well.
I love it. All right. Here's where we're going. So we, the judges, are going to take 10 to 15 minutes to deliberate in a separate room, where Lily and Sarah are going to take things as first. We've got an Audience Choice Award, and I think we're at peak audience right now. So the teams have done an outstanding job of getting people here at the right time. So Audience Choice. And then there's going to be some discussion about the program and reflections, and especially since there's so many people who are very close to the team members tonight, I think that'll be interesting. And then we'll come back with the awards no later than 7:50 Mountain Time. Judges, the link as to where we're going is in the chat. I will see you there. And Lily and Sarah, over to you.
Definitely. And Matthew's giving his little endorsement too in the chat. Thank you guys so much for being great students and great participants this year. I know it's more Zoom, but hopefully we'll see at least the CU students in person on campus. And for those of you that aren't in person CU students, you have to come visit us in Boulder too. Brad is ready to rock the award. So I'm going to invite Brad back and let him announce. And Brad, Nate does have the results also for the Audience Choice Award as well.
Okay, well, Nate, I'm going to turn to you after giving a shout out. First of all, thanks to everybody who joined tonight. The Zoomiverse is really a second best world. This group, as you guys have seen, has made the best of it all year. And I really appreciate everybody, colleagues, family members, friends, join in really honoring the work that you guys saw involved tonight. Also, a special thanks to Lily as our managing director this year. You really, you have been invested in ways that we all appreciate, and big ups to you for that. Sarah, you have been the backbone of this program for many years now. There is no greater advocate for our students than you. And Nate and Eileen, many thanks for all you've done this year. Want to make sure to highlight and appreciate what you guys have each done. I think it's appropriate. Everybody is promoted right now. Is that right? Okay, because this is the most widespread set of interactions we have ever had at a startup pitch night. Every team, it seemed like most of the voices were involved. It's clear that the chemistry between the teams were really strong. And in a line that I'm probably going to get emotional, we've got a lot of family members in there tonight. My dad passed away last week. One of his favorite lines was, "Every family's got one. And if you don't know who it is, it's you." And this year, there was like no team that was the one. Like everybody has invested this year. And it's appropriate that that everyone's on to really share in this award. And finally, I want to thank the judges, who I just thought did a terrific job being dialed in, sharpened the conversation, had real value adds. So with that, Nate, let's go to the Audience Choice Award. The wisdom of the crowd, what does it say?
Well, folks, for the Audience Choice Award, we've got the green team, helping to reduce every company's carbon footprint.
All right, beneath the balance sheet, we're going to add that Audience Choice Award to whatever check you're getting. Congratulations. Please give it up for beneath the balance sheet. And in the spirit of the Olympics, this was a very, very difficult judging room with a lot of appreciation for the progress that you guys have made and the hard problems you're trying to solve. And in that spirit, there is a silver category and a gold category. So here's how this is going to work. The silver category, 3 teams are going to split the 4th, 5th, and 6th prize money, which comes out to $667 per team. Sarah, how am I doing? Am I giving you a heart attack over there? All right, $667 per team. I'm making Eileen confused. She's like, "Where's the 667?" Because it didn't exist, but we're going to pool that 4th, 5th, and 6th place money. Coming into the silver category, sharing 4th place is Building Blocks, Hobby Seeker, and TED. Building Blocks, Hobby Seeker, and TED. Someone from Building Blocks. Let's see here. Brielle, are you on?
Yes, hello.
Brielle, how'd you find the night?
I loved it. I loved hearing all the different pitches and couldn't be more proud of my team.
That is fabulous to hear. Someone from Team TED. Let's see. Cooper, Riley, Tom. One of you guys, what was the coolest thing you heard tonight?
It was cool to hear, especially John, talk about how important he thought this was, because like I knew the issue was important, but it really like cemented it in and is tempting me to really continue the business afterwards. So
powerful to hear. I love that. Hobby Seeker, Ben, Rachel, Alan. The judges love the space that you're in. What's one takeaway that you have from tonight?
I think. Oh,
go for it.
I think one thing that we're taking away from this is to keep going. Honestly, we should run with it, I think.
All right, love it. So congratulations to Ted, Hobby Seeker, and Building Blocks. You guys will be taking home the type for the silvers. And I don't know if anyone saw the high jump in the Olympics. For those that did not see this, it was a really moving moment between a jumper from Qatar and a jumper from Italy. They tied, and they were asked to do a jump off, and they asked, could we both have the gold medal? The judge said yes. And they literally jumped into each other's arms. From one moment, they're competing with each other, trying to win the Olympic Games. The next moment, they are crying on each other, jumping all over each other. Quite a moment. This is our version of it. We've got 3 gold medal winners who are going to split the pool of money. This comes down to I want to make sure I have the right. $3,333 per team. Congratulations to Volunshare, Beneath the Balance Sheet, and Asha, our gold medal winners tonight. 3 up on the podium. Let's have someone from Volunshare first. Volunshare, cool what you guys are working on in terms of promoting charities and a way to better support them. What's one takeaway that you have from tonight?
Hi. So I think one of the greatest takeaways we had was just all the hard work. It was so nice because I actually worked for an NGO here in Boulder. So it was so nice to see how our app could actually be used in place. So I think the biggest takeaway for sure, the hard work from our teammates. It was just so cool, and the opportunity to be here and to see what we got and to keep working forward with our Volunshare.
Love it. The work that you guys did, as well as a lot of the teams, and talking to prospective customers really came through tonight. Beneath the Balance Sheet, the green team, as we colloquially know you as, one takeaway from tonight. Green team?
Thank you, Brad. I think it was a completely positive experience. And I'm really grateful for everyone. And the whole program was great, learning how to build up the startup and having that pitch experience. I can already tell it's going to be really great for my future, and loved working with my team as well.
Yeah, you guys have fantastic chemistry. It definitely came through. And Asha, Team Asha, congratulations to you guys. What's the most notable thing about tonight from your end?
Ibo, do you want to answer that?
Sure. So I think the most notable thing that I took away from tonight is like the absolute enthusiasm that everybody brought, and the fact that this community has taught me so much about entrepreneurship. I came in, my only goal was to learn how to develop a good business, how to do startup. And just from talking to everybody, I'm like, oh, wow, everyone's my teacher. And so really, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
I am not going to top that, so I'm going to stop talking. Thanks again to our judges, Sierra, Kirsten, John. You guys did a terrific job. Let's make sure we get a screenshot picture of everyone who tuned in tonight. Thank you for joining us. All the Startup Summer participants, congratulations. Great job tonight. And I can't wait to see you guys in person. Everybody, have a great night.
Have a good one, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.